Welcome back to the Something in the Wilderness podcast. My name's Steve, and this is a podcast focusing on all the music of Andrew McMahon song by song. But today, we're doing a bonus episode. Today, we're talking about the When We Were Young Festival and, of course, the Something Corporate Sideshow. And with me for this episode, I brought along Jenna. Jenna, welcome to the show.
Hi. I'm so glad to be on, Steve, and that you invited me. I'm really glad to be here. I live in the Chicagoland area, and you can find me at any Andrew McMahon show within about a 6-hour driving radius.
I can verify that because we've been on a lot of the same shows in multiple states. So, Jenna, how did you first get into Andrew's music anyway?
So I was a dancer when I was younger, and I had a dance teacher who was really into Something Corporate and was really into Jack's Mannequins. So for our classes, a lot of our routines and whatnot were to Something Corporate songs. And we, being the very cool, 6th and 7th graders that we were at the time, were like, oh my gosh, I'm as as Lizzie, and I want to listen to the same music as Natalia. So we did, and we ended up going to shows, and it started there.
Wow, that's one of the more unique ways to get into Andrew that I've heard of, I gotta say.
Yeah, it was great.
So from there, you just went home and you started listening to his music? You just said, well, I really like those songs, so now I'm going to start listening to them?
Yeah, kind of. I was in classes with some friends, and this was in the height of let's burn each other CDs time. So she would burn me different songs. That's kind of where it all started.
And did you start going to shows right away, like in middle high school, or was it later on that you got into going to the shows then? Because you said you go to a lot of shows, so.
I do go to a lot of shows. My first show actually was on the Something Corporate reunion tour. So I'm not that old of a fan, but I'm that old of a fan. So I'm very fortunate in that, in terms of all of Andrew's projects, I did get to start with Something Corporate, but not in the typical sense of the word, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's excellent anyway. I've talked to people who just got into Andrew the last couple of years, and I don't consider there to be any tiers or levels of the fan base, based on when you got into him. So if you first heard Andrew's music in 2009 or 2010, I'd say that's just as good, and it's even cooler because you got to go back and have a couple albums to visit after that point. So.
Yeah, it was probably 2006 or so, and then when my mom would let me go to shows was later on.
Oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I didn't start going to shows until high school, so I definitely was not allowed to go to shows in middle school.
For sure.
Your latest Something Corporate, or your latest Andrew experience, but also Something Corporate experience, was a pretty special number, right? Tell us about that.
It was, yeah. So the Something Corporate Sideshow at the House of Blues was my 50th Andrew McMahon show. And it was so great, and it couldn't have worked out any better that ended up being number 50 for me. I was so excited about it. I wore my Lauren Conrad jeans. I got a gold sparkly top, and I actually bought on Amazon a 50th birthday kind of set, a 50 crown and a 50 and fabulous kind of banner thing. I didn't end up wearing the sash because that would have been too weird. But I wore the 50 crown, and I thought that was really funny.
The crown was good. The crown was good. I saw it. I really want to talk to you about the leading up to the show and then the show itself. So let's start with kind of the leading up. So I know these tickets for the sideshow were really difficult to get for some people. It was kind of a point of contention, a point of frustration. I got really lucky because somehow my wife is good at doing this. Getting tickets online. I always have the worst luck. So she's how I got a ticket, and she, of course, got her ticket too. How did that process go for you?
Yeah, that was the most anxiety-provoking moment of my life.
Yeah.
I was so worried about being able to get these tickets. I had it open on my laptop, I had it open on my work computer, and I had it open on my phone. And I told everybody else, if there was a crisis at this time, you guys need to handle it without me. Mm-hmm. And I believe they ended up selling out in 90 seconds, and I was fortunate enough to be able to be in there for those 90 seconds, and I got the tickets.
My wife gets on me about this, but I literally didn't believe that she got tickets because we weren't in the same place when it went on sale. So I was texting her from where I was. I was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you got them?" And she makes fun of me now. She's like, "You told me to send you a screenshot," and I was like, "I just had to know." It seemed unbelievable at the time that everyone else, well, not everyone else I knew, but so many people I knew couldn't get tickets, and that's all I was seeing on social media. but somehow I got a ticket,
Yeah.
which was just felt pretty gratifying.
Yeah, no, I'm part of like a group chat with a couple other fan friends, and we were all like, "Okay, are you ready? If you get one, can you get two so that we can all like make sure that it was okay for each other?" Which was a really nice part of the community part of this too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I know I was chatting so many people that day about tickets, and I was glad to hear that a lot of people I knew did get tickets as well.
For sure.
Being a member of Camp Wilderness helped in that we kind of got the early.
So I believe they sold out during early access. I
That's
don't think
right. Oh,
anybody else got any sort of access. You needed
that's
Camp Wilderness.
that's right. You had to have Camp Wilderness to get the tickets. That's right. Why do concert tickets go on sale during the during the work day?
Right?
Yeah, that needs to change. They used to be years and years ago when you used to have to wait in line. They used to be Saturday mornings, and not that I want to spend my Saturday morning waiting for tickets outside in the cold, but there was something to be said about the timing at least. Like at least make it not during the typical workday. But end rant. So we have the tickets. The excitement builds. It is time to get ready for the show. What was that like the weeks leading up to the show for you? Besides buying the crown and the gold shirt and all that.
Leading up to it, honestly, I've been so swamped at work that I like didn't think about it. And then it was the week of, and then it was the only thing that I could think about.
Hard not to.
So I ended up flying out early Friday morning, maybe 3 hours, like Thursday into Friday. And then for the rest of the weekend, I probably got an additional 10 hours that entire weekend because there was so much to do and so much going on and so much excitement. Honestly, like the excitement building up to it, it didn't hit until the week of, but then it was like, oh my goodness, I can't contain myself.
Yeah, I know you were in Vegas for a pretty short time, basically just for the shows, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
came in early Friday. We dropped our stuff at the hotel, and then I think we'll get to this in a minute, but then went straight to like wait in line. Then we went to the festival, then we showered and essentially went to the airport.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds like a whirlwind experience. So I was fortunate to get those couple days off of work, and I decided to get there early and just kind of see the city a little bit on Thursday. And it was just by myself. My wife didn't come in until Friday because she didn't want to take another day off of work. But so I had a little bit of a different experience in that I just had time to kill, whereas it seems like you were like go 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 the entire time.
Yeah, there was no time to kill. I was there for the shows and the shows only, really.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So you were one of the few people. Well, I don't know. Was there a few? I don't even know because I wasn't there. So you were one of a group of people that arrived very early Friday morning in Mandalay Bay Casino and Hotel and waited in line all day. Is that right?
So yeah, I'm kind of known for this. I'm stupid early. And I'm also the person who will show up at shows that I said I wasn't going to. But that's neither here nor there right now. But yeah, no, we got there probably around 8 o'clock, a couple of my friends and stuff. So we honestly you know how like friendship bracelet making and lyric bracelet making has like become a thing?
Mm-hmm.
We sat up in a corner at Mandalay Bay and we were making all these lyric bracelets and it was so much fun and we were there for maybe like 2 hours before security came around and was like, hey, you can't sit there. And we were like, oh, okay, well,
Uh-oh.
we're definitely going to stay here. So, and they were like, well, you can't sit here. And we were like, okay, can we stand? And they said yes. So we just stood there instead.
Oh
And
my
then they
gosh.
didn't, I don't know. Then they came around again later and were like, hey, you can't be here. You're loitering. And it's like, we're out of the way. What are you talking about? Nobody's getting hurt by us. And yeah, no, we're seen as loitering because, you know, we're in a casino, but we're not spending money at the casino.
Right.
So there ended up being kind of a whole tizzy about it. And I had a couple of friends who are really assertive and great communicators. And they were able to handle the whole situation. And there was an issue kind of with like, well, we don't allow lines, so like we're not going to respect the line, is what basically was happening. And again, I have some really great and assertive and make sure that didn't become an issue, so that we were able to get in early and get right up front. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, when I arrived at the line, I came up to see you guys, and you were rightfully so first in line because you put in the time that a lot of people weren't willing to do. So you guys were right up front, beginning of the line, and I think there were like 5 or 6 of you that you knew, right? Did you know the other people around you besides that initial group that you showed up with?
We get to know people. That's one of my favorite things about getting there early. That's how I've made all these friends.
Yeah.
They're people who I've met in these early lines. So I know, like, for a lot of people, it's like, ugh, why would you do that? But for me, there's a friendship part of it that I
Hmm.
really, really do enjoy, and I was glad to be able to do it in Vegas too.
Yeah, several people have told me that. So I've only done the wait in line thing a couple of times. I actually did do it that night, but I was about 100th in line, not right up front. But it actually ended up being a pretty good spot for me personally. Worked out well, but we'll get to that. Was there anything else going on? You said there's bracelet making in line. There was, people were making connections, making new friends. What else was going in line out there?
Some of us like brought clothes to change into, and we made friends with somebody who had a room upstairs, and so we like
Oh,
did that
nice.
and kind of changed there. I had the unfortunate experience of my shampoo exploding in my luggage and ruining all of
Ooh.
my makeup. And being as I had a gold sparkly shirt and a crown, I couldn't go makeupless. So, I had like DoorDash bring, no, they got the order wrong and they had to come back. And I don't know about you, but like ordering DoorDash to a ginormous hotel is something I would never like to do again. That was
I didn't know you could
terrible.
do that, so that's good for people to know that you can do that. So the DoorDasher will actually walk into the casino and
Oh,
deliver it
no,
to
no,
you.
no. You got to go to the door of the
Oh
casino, but you
yeah,
got
I
to get to
figured.
the right door of the casino. And
Right,
that,
and
and
there's a
then they're like,
million.
I'm here, and then they're not there yet. And no, thank you.
Yeah, it sounds pretty complicated. Well, that's nice that you were able to get that taken care of. Wow. So when you wait in line all day, and I know it's different the answer is different in a casino than it would be like a typical line outside of a venue. Do you take turns going to the restroom? Do you take turns like going to get food? How does that work? Because again, I've never waited in line for or 10 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk to you a whole episode about just the waiting in line experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll take turns. The casino part was very different because in my head we were going to be outside in the Las Vegas sun, sitting in line all day. And
Hmm.
then when I realized, hey, wait, it's Las Vegas. Everything is inside all of these monstrosity, like complex buildings.
Hmm.
So we can be inside. This is going to be one of our best waits ever because I
Right.
have waited in line outside in freezing temperatures.
Yeah.
I've waited outside at First Avenue in Minneapolis. They genuinely had like heat lamps outside for people.
Well, that's
um,
nice.
Only for the first couple people in
Yeah.
line. Like it's not that big,
Yeah.
but that
They
was
didn't
like a
do that
thing.
at they didn't do that at House of Blues Chicago last year,
Oh
by the
God,
way.
no,
Just
no, no,
want to
no.
say that.
Yeah, but I've also waited in like 90-degree heat. So this was a kind of a welcome thing to be inside in a climate controlled environment. Bathroom, you hold your spot in more typical venue settings. Some people will bring like lawn chairs and you park close enough and you throw them in closer to doors. So it's a whole thing.
That's awesome. It sounds like like you said, it's more of you're describing it as more of like a party with your friends and new friends than rather than like what the way I think about it is like, oh, it sounds like a long time to wait in a line.
Yeah, I consider it like tailgating.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I've had other people describe it similarly, but we did it the one time in Indianapolis for hours and then and we're able to get right up on the stage. There wasn't even a barricade, so I can't call it barricade, but we got right up on the stage. But that was like the longest I've ever waited in line. It was just a few hours, and then this one was I'd say we were in line for maybe an hour, if that. So it paid off, right? When you went into the venue, you got on the barricade, right? And I know that for a couple of reasons, but one of them is I can see you perfectly clear in the live stream.
Yeah, I am prominent, I guess, in the live stream.
Yeah, yeah, you are. So it paid off. So you guys got right up front. That's amazing. When you went in to wait all day, did you think it was going to be a problem to get up front, or were you just like, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to get barricade?
There were a couple times where I thought it was going to be a problem. One was when they're like, "Oh, well, lines don't matter,"
Hmm.
and the other being, I guess, people who have like a membership to the foundation room get in early.
Okay.
They sold, well, I guess, a small amount of early entry tickets, and a friend had posted it to me, and not 15 minutes after she had posted it, there were none available.
Hmm.
So she got in early. A couple in our group got in early, and were able to like make it happen for the rest of us.
That's awesome. Working together as a team.
For sure,
That's what this community is all about. I love that.
definitely.
So I'll talk a little bit about my experience. So when we went in, we went down the stairs, and there was already a good crowd gathered in front of the stage. My wife is short. She's 5'3", and she's struggled. And that's I know that's probably average height for a lot of women, but she struggled with being able to see. So it was like one of my very top concerns leading to the show, that I was like, I've got to find a place where she's going to enjoy herself, where she's going to be able to see. I'm going to feel so bad if we get like 10 or 12 people deep, or even further back, and we can't. Well, I'll see. I'm not that tall either, but I'll see something, but she wouldn't see. And so when we walk in, we saw along the bar, and I actually couldn't believe it, that there was a rail along the bar kind of overlooking the main floor, completely open when we walked in. And I was like, wow, again, we may have been about 100th in line, I'm just estimating. And I was just surprised nobody claimed that spot. So we first like kind of did that panicky, ran down into the main floor, and we were about what I predicted, 10, 12 people deep, and we were kind of looking up and like, okay, this could work. Like this is good. But then we were with another couple, Aaron and Nate, and they were like, hey, there's a spot up there. And I was like, yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's check it out. So we kind of ran up there, and we were like, oh my gosh, we have kind of a perfect view. Now, what my wife brought up like next was, we're not really going to see Andrew. Like, he's kind of behind his piano. And I was like, yeah, I'm okay with that. Like, I've seen a lot of Andrew shows. I was like, he'll stand up. He'll get up. He'll jump on the piano. He'll stand up. He'll walk around. I'm good with this. So I thought it ended up being a really good view from where we had to. It was very different. So we weren't looking up at them. We weren't right in front. But like, basically there was like a rope right next to us where, I don't know if it's VIPs or like people who had like special access got to stand, basically.
Yeah, there was probably like an agent, or some of the people bought like tables.
Yeah, there were tables off to the right, and then this rope to the left where people were standing. But they had, I don't know, they had some pass to get back there or something. So, but it worked out pretty well. But I was actually really looking forward to Cassidy Pope. It's not always that I go to an Andrew show and am excited about the opener, I'll be honest. Sometimes I am. Sometimes I have no idea who they are. And sometimes I do a little digging and listen to the music and like them. And sometimes I do that and I don't like them. But in this case, I had actually heard of her. I was actually somewhat familiar with her music, and I dug in more and I really liked it. So that kind of worked out for me. And my wife, it also worked out for my wife because she's like me, like a newer fan of Cassidy Pope. So I was excited to see her. But what I was a little disappointed in about Cassidy Pope, though, is that I thought she was going to have a full band with her. Like, I thought she was going to do, like, the rock, like, Hey Monday, and her newer stuff was kind of rock, too. But it was good. You know, like, acoustic opener. We've seen that before with, William Griffin Sherry in May, William Beckett last November. I guess it varies. I don't know. It just made me curious because I think 3 of the last time, if not the last 3 times I've seen Andrew, have been acoustic openers now that I think about it. So, okay, so the band's about to start. I don't know. Did you know about the LED screens that we were about to see, the LED piano? Did you know that was going to happen? Did you have any inclination of that ahead of time?
So, I mean, just being there for the show, like, and thinking about what was going to happen, I assumed it was going to be an upright piano because that was the something corporate style, right?
Right. Yep.
The grand piano didn't exist until later on.
Uh-huh.
There had been talk amongst my friend group about that's kind of, I think, what a lot of us were like hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
For those who aren't familiar with the North piano, it's painted with kind of like some of the album art stuff from the North album. I loved that it ended up being this LED thing and that they were able to change it. When the show kind of like was getting started, what was projected on it was like, I guess they kind of took it from, they talked about it in Camp Wilderness, if you could send us old pictures and stuff.
Okay.
And they kind of recreated an early something corporate piano by like projecting like the old stickers that were on it in approximately the right places from how they had been back in the day.
Yeah, the front of it looked amazing. And I think where you guys were standing, you may not have had this view or you may have seen it from the screen, but did you know what the back of the piano looked like? Did you catch that?
I did not catch the back of the piano, no.
So I have a really great picture of it, but I'll tell you, we were debating it up by the bar area. Is that real? It looks so shiny. Is there like a spotlight on it? What's going on? And I know I talked to other fans that felt the same way. We were like, that's got to be real. Like, it turned out the whole back of it was also an LED screen, but during certain parts, including the very beginning of the show, it was made to look like the back of a piano. Mm-hmm. It was just so amazing.
So with that too, I'm not sure if you were able to see the front of the piano.
Only in the live stream. That's the only way I saw that.
Yeah, so the front was also made to look like an open front, like piano as well.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of that until I watched it back in the live stream because even though I was at the show, I pay for these live streams, and then I
I
got
did
to
the
rewatch
same.
it. Yeah, I got to rewatch it. So I got to see, and I did like last, I think it was like Thursday, like 5 days after the show. I was like, all right, I got to go back and rewatch it. So I think my wife thinks I'm crazy. Like I'm just like, no, I know I saw Something Corporate twice over the weekend, but now I'm going to technically see them again from the comfort of my couch and watch the same show I already watched in person. When the band came out, they opened with Space. Was that a song? Well, let's actually before I say that, let's talk about like what were you hoping to hear? Did you have like a bucket list? Like I want them to play these particular songs.
So yes and no. I am a person who's been to 50 plus shows now.
Yeah.
So I've heard a lot of the songs. So there are some that I would love to hear that I know I will never ever hear. I'm always reaching for deep cuts.
Same.
I want the stuff that they're never going to play.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough actually back in May to go to 3 shows in a row and have the opportunity to talk with Andrew and stuff. And talking with somebody else, they had asked for Release Me, and I was like, oh, so I'm playing it at this like small acoustic show in Green Bay, and he like said, this is a request. I mean, it's one that I had never heard, and I was able to
Yeah.
ask for and get, and it was wild. So, I mean,
That's
I didn't have that
amazing.
kind of same thing for this. I was hopeful for a lot of things, but I actually listened to your episode with Josh, and I was like, "Oh, Break Myself would be great."
Uh-huh.
Oh, I guess we're not going to get that.
Yeah. I was holding out hope and I didn't do too much on social media, but a couple of times I like posted hashtag please play Break Myself and I mentioned it in songs I want to hear, but I don't know if Andrew looks at any of that stuff anyway, but I didn't want to like even in Camp Wilderness, I don't know, like I didn't want to bother him about it because there must be a reason. It actually occurred to me more so this past week than ever before. I have a theory on why he doesn't play it. It's a hard song to sing. I was trying to sing it in my car, and I was like, yeah, I mean, now Andrew's a much better singer than I am. He's got a lot of experience. I don't know. And I was like, oh, I wonder if, because he's got that screaming part, and he doesn't do that a whole lot in any music that he does live anymore. There was a part in Space, which was the first song they played at this show that we're talking about, where there is kind of a screaming part. I actually can't remember how he handled that now that I think about it.
It was more sing-songy, but don't quote me on that.
Yeah. I'll have to review the footage. No, I'm just kidding. No, I actually didn't. I actually didn't take much video or pictures, but my wife and I each took a little bit, and then the couple we were with, he took some, and they just shared those to me actually last night, so I can go back and watch all those. But
Yeah,
I
I
don't know.
didn't because there was a live stream.
Yeah, that was my thought too. Like that's the least amount of like pictures and video I ever took at a show. I think I only had like 2 or 3 on my phone at the end, and I was like, oh, but yeah, because of the live stream for sure. I didn't need the video, so you're always looking for deep cuts. Did you feel like you got any, or did you feel like not?
So Straw Dog is probably one that and that's a semi-deep cut,
Uh huh.
and Only Ashes.
Yeah, that's the one I was gonna say. I wasn't sure that I'd ever hear that song. I mean, really, any Josh Partington song, I wasn't sure that I'd ever hear it live again. But I was so excited, and and I know we're gonna kind of jump around in the set, and that's okay. We don't have to go in order. I was so excited when they played Ruthless for one, and I love North. I'm a self-proclaimed like North fanatic. It is one of my favorite albums of all time. Period. And I think it's so criminally underrated in music in general. So I was hoping to hear as much of that as possible, and I think I counted 8 songs out of 12 they ended up playing from North. So that's pretty respectable. It's very good actually. But when they played that Ruthless Only Ashes combination, that was, I'm going to go ahead and say it now, that was hands down my favorite part of the show. Even when I watched the live stream, I got that same like kind of feeling in my gut. Oh my gosh, like this is where it's at. That's what I want to hear. Ruthless and Only Ashes. I don't know why, like the other stuff sounded good too. That was my favorite part of the show because I love the song Ruthless, but I thought it sounded really really good when they played it. And then Only Ashes was super exciting, and it was really neat to see the guys go kind of nuts on that song. So you felt like Only Ashes was like a good, like kind of like fulfilled your deep cut need, or
Yeah, so Only Ashes definitely fulfilled the deep cut need, although there is always more of a deep cut need.
Yeah, I know. We can never get enough as
Oh
fans.
no, for sure.
Yeah,
If I could have like a show of my own, I would like exclusively request like songs that I've never heard. But
right.
Only Ashes was awesome, and I think so. Part of like what I loved about it was that he came down off of the stage during Only Ashes. I was like, he comes down and he like grabbed my hand, and it was like super cute and fun and amazing. And he kind of goes down a little ways, and then he kind of comes back and he grabs onto my friend Stewie and just is like hugging him, and it was just like so funny to just watch because I think there's a crowd of us who we do line up early. Andrew knows this. He knows
Mhm.
us fairly well. So he interacts with us in a way that's really fun. So he was just like grabbing onto him and it was just so funny. So really Only Ashes was a hit moment for me.
I had forgotten which song that took place in because I wasn't down there, but we could clearly see from our position what was happening, and I was like, "Oh, it's Stewie." Yeah, I could definitely see him, like Andrew, like bear hugging him while he was singing, and just goofing
So if
around
you
with
could
him.
see Stewie's face, I don't know that I've seen a person light up more than in that moment.
I saw the pictures. I saw pictures. I think I saw video. It's in the live stream, but I don't know if there's a close up of his face in the I couldn't remember it, but I know I've seen the picture, so that's kind of what's in my memory right now. That was pretty awesome. Yeah, you guys had that barricade on lockdown up front. I think there was like 8 of you, but yeah, every time he'd come into the crowd, he'd basically come right to you guys, right? I think he came, did he come in the crowd twice? Was it?
Probably.
I think at
That
the end of the
sounds
show
right.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I couldn't remember which songs. I'm almost sure it's Punk Rock Princess at the end, but I couldn't remember the one in the middle there. So, what do you think of the interludes of the band members talking on the video screen?
So this is a small gripe of mine. I thought that was amazing, and I could not hear it.
Yeah.
People were loud, people were talking.
Yep.
So I didn't really get that experience that I would have loved to have like actually heard what was going on. If nothing else, though, it was cute to see them as like young people next to their
Hmm.
like adult people selves. But I would have loved to have been able to hear that better.
We felt similarly. I guess I could hear it a little bit better than my wife, but my wife said it almost exactly what you just said. She's like, I really wanted to hear it. I couldn't hear it. So that was a small gripe too. I thought it was a cool idea. The whole introduction when they came out, and I forgot to mention that earlier. The whole introduction, kind of old interviews, old footage, and then they
And
come
then
out.
the "It's good to be back." Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh my gosh, that was so great.
That was a great intro. I know from one of the live streams that Andrew did. I don't even think it was on Camp Wilderness. I think it was Instagram. He did with some of the guys, the other guys. I think it's Clutch that actually put those videos together, maybe in the LED screens. I thought that's what he
Yes.
said. He has a background in multimedia, right?
Yeah. My
Yeah.
understanding is it's like Clutch and his like company kind of made the screens, made that all happen, which I think is
Yeah,
like so cool that they're
it
able
is.
to like integrate their new lives into their I think that's like amazing.
I was super impressed. I don't know if it was the excitement of seeing something corporate themselves that made me think it was one of the best stage shows I've ever seen. The way the lighting on the piano and the LEDs would match the big screen in the back during the songs. There were certain things going on the screens, including on the piano screens, that kind of matched the music and the feel and the mood of the music with the colors. It was just so well thought out. I don't see too many shows that do that, I guess. And maybe in a big arena, I've seen something like that. Definitely never seen a piano light up like that, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, with that too, like how much effort they put into like a single show. Like that's
Right.
so
This isn't
much
a
work
tour.
for one thing.
I guess they didn't put a whole lot of thought into that. You're absolutely right. This we all know this isn't a tour. This isn't something they're taking on the road. So for a one-time deal that I know they recorded, maybe they'll use that footage in the future for something. But still, like a one-time thing for 16 or 1800 people, I think we are fortunate to get that experience. Were there any surprises besides the screens, besides, getting to hear Straw Dog and Only Ashes, those kind of deeper cuts? Were there any surprises during the show to you? Was anything surprising?
Um, no, I wouldn't say that I was surprised at any point. I
Hmm.
think honestly, I just didn't stop smiling the entire time. Like my
Yeah.
face hurt at the end of the show.
Yeah.
I think I was just so excited to be there the whole time.
I've never, I probably have. but I don't remember the last time I was at a concert where I was scream singing the lyrics to every single song. So much that I was losing my voice. I still don't think my voice is recovered, by the way. It's probably going to come through in the recording that my voice is different. Like it's between that and the festival, which I definitely want to touch on a little bit here. I was scream singing so much that, yeah, like I didn't lose my voice, but I definitely felt it. I just remember like kind of grabbing onto the rail that I was standing at by the bar. By the way, I loved that rail. We actually had like a shelf we could set our drinks on. We set our phones on. It was just like the perfect setup for what we needed at the time. Yeah, I was like grabbing the rail and and I don't know if people around me thought I was nuts or they were right there along with me because I couldn't. That was kind of the nice thing. Like sometimes I feel badly about singing loudly at concerts because I'm worried I'm singing right into somebody's ear. But in this case, I was kind of singing out over a rail that was like 6 feet above anybody's heads. So like I didn't feel like I was bothering anybody. So that made me feel pretty good about just like letting loose and just going nuts. So I don't know what everybody behind me was doing, but it looked like the energy was up to a 10 on the main floor. That's for sure. So I was kind of feeding off of that and the band. I guess besides the screens and the multimedia show, the other surprising thing about it, and it shouldn't be surprising, but I felt like all the band members were super excited to be there. Like they seem to love it. Like I think we can all say we enjoy watching when an artist is having fun on stage. I think all five of those guys were having an absolute blast up there.
Oh, you could totally tell. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's something, they have their regular lives. And this is like going back to, being a kid again or just doing something that's different. But it was really great to watch them feed off of each other's energy too.
Yeah, I liked when so we had the view of from our side we had the view of Josh primarily and Clutch right behind him. And then a really nice view of the piano, of course. And we saw William and Brian in the background and Andrew behind the piano. But sometimes William would switch with Josh to just kind of do a different setup, and that was kind of cool too. Just kind of get both sides. So
For sure. I had a lot
yeah.
of William access and not so much Josh.
Oh right. So were you right in front of the piano then?
Yes.
Okay. So you were you'd have to look to each side of the piano to see either one of them,
Mhm.
right?
For what I don't know, maybe I was slightly right. So Josh was less visible for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. I had a really great view of William Tell, and we made eye contact a couple of times, and it was super amazing.
That's funny. So you're a big William Tell fan, I take it.
I am a very big William Tell fan. Yes, I think that he's great, and I will not say anything more than that.
Well, I'm curious, so I'm gonna go in a slightly different direction with that. Do you listen to like the music that he made after Something Corporate?
I've listened like a little bit here and there. I'll listen to music that I can't go see.
Yeah, it's like a weird like this will never be on stage.
I get so much out of like being at live music.
Hmm.
It's a bummer to me when I can't like experience it.
That actually reminds me of a question I meant to ask you at the top of the episode. So, are there other artists that you go see to the extent that you would go see Andrew or you try to, even if it's not 50 shows? I understand that, but like, are there other artists that you have that goal or to see every time they come through town?
Honestly, there's not that many. Andrew
Mhm.
is the cream of the crop there, right?
Yeah.
But I did find Night Riots after the Zombies tour, and I got to see them, I want to say 27 times before they stopped touring.
Wow, that is quite a bit because they were a newer band, right?
They were, yeah. No, it was great. I miss them with my whole heart. And then there's a band called Friday Pilots Club
Hmm.
that was originally based out of Chicago and now they're out in LA. But I love them a lot. I actually found them also through Andrew. They played at Summerfest, probably 2016, 2017, on the same stage that Andrew was at. And
Yeah.
me doing what I do, I was at that stage very early. So I just happened to see them.
Hmm.
And we're friends now. So.
Okay, so there are other artists that you really try to see every time, but I understand the Night Riots aren't active any longer, right?
I'll cry about it if you ask.
Okay, I'll leave it at there.
Yeah.
So anything else about the sideshow, about the actual show?
I caught a William Tell guitar pick,
Oh, you did?
so that
That's
was fun.
that's pretty
Yeah.
significant. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you had a good spot for that, so that's cool.
Hmm.
Maybe he threw it to you intentionally. I'd like to think
Honestly, I
that.
don't remember if I got it from him or like, when they were like clearing off the stage like
Oh,
after.
okay. Oh, I
But like,
gotcha. They're just tossing things out.
it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I have a William Tell guitar pick, so who cares?
Now, didn't you get a set list too, though?
I did get a set list,
So,
yes.
so what did one of the crew members hand that to you afterward?
Because I've been to many a show, I've been able to talk with Matt, who's the current tour manager.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw him prior to that show. My last show had been Bonnaroo.
Uh-huh.
And there he was like, "Hey, is it 50 yet?" And I was like, "It's 49. Next time I see you, it'll be 50." And so he saw my crown. I will forever be grateful for that.
That's awesome. That is so cool that he gave that to you. So after the show, everybody kind of headed out, and there was a really long merch line. I didn't even look at the merch because I was like, I am not waiting in that line no matter what. And then some of the guys actually came out and took some pictures. So I saw Zach, I saw William. I got my picture taken with William, and all I got a chance to say with him was like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're back in the band. So glad you're back with the guys." So he was like, "Oh, thanks, man." And he shook my hand and took a picture. That was the extent of it. I saw Josh get out of there pretty quickly, but man, Josh chose to wear like a long sleeve button up shirt and a tie, which was cool. But like, yeah, he had to be so hot in that the whole time. I could tell he was, right. So he was probably ready to peace out after
For
that for
sure.
a bit, at least for a bit. So like, did you get to meet any of the band members after the show?
Yeah, I got to meet quite a few of them actually. And everyone was so nice. Like, I
Oh
don't know
yeah.
what I was expecting, but I mean, I've met everybody in the wilderness. I've met
Hmm.
everybody in Jack's. I guess that's those are fairly. No, I've never met the Something Corporate guys. So that
Hmm.
was a really amazing experience. In particular, William Tell, sensing a theme here, right? William Tell was like, "You were amazing," because as I said before, I didn't stop smiling the whole time. I didn't
Uh huh.
stop dancing the whole time. And he was
Uh
like,
huh.
whenever I needed like a boost again, I was looking over your direction. And the 14-year-old in me melted.
Yeah, I
It was
bet.
it
Wow.
was so great.
That's pretty
So
flattering that he like noticed you during the show
I know
to like for like your energy and smile. That's
it was
awesome.
great. Yeah. So just moving forward like a little bit too. Then at the when we were young show, of course I went up and got to the front again for that. Not center because I had a whole ticketing dilemma, which maybe we can talk about or not. But I got up to the front and he waved at me. And I
Oh
know
my gosh.
this sounds so fangirly, but like it was so magical.
No, I get it because like it's like really exciting when it seems like the artist acknowledges you. I completely agree with that. Like I understand. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that when we were young fest. I'm really curious as to what your experience getting in was like because I've heard from a lot of people mixed reviews on getting in. Maybe Saturday was different from Sunday. I went on Sunday, and I feel like the experience getting into the thing was different on Sunday, and the vibe was a little bit different from the beginning. But what was your experience like? So the night after the show, you're up late, of course, for the show, and then the next morning you got to get up early and get like to the opposite side of the Las Vegas Strip to get to this festival. What was that like?
That was tiring. We decided that we would just kind of take an Uber and get fairly close and then find breakfast. So we Ubered to this Denny's that's right across ish from the venue. And the wait there was astronomical. So there
I
was a
bet.
Walgreens right next door. There was a Walgreens right next door. So, I grabbed a sandwich from Walgreens and that's what I ate for the day. And then we went and lined up with a friend who had gotten there earlier, so we were able to get in sooner. I had bought tickets off of a secondhand marketplace, and I sent one to a friend, and I kept the other for myself. I ended up not getting in for another half an hour, even though we were about third in line. Apparently, because my phone brightness wasn't bright enough for them to scan the ticket. And because I
What?
didn't buy it firsthand, they couldn't look up my order because I didn't have the driver's license of the guy whose name was on the ticket. It was a whole thing. So what ended up happening is my friend Laura, who I was with, ended up coming back. I was able to send her my ticket, and they could scan it off of her phone. But it was terrible. And then I was standing there with a guy who came in from Argentina, and like his ticket, well, sorry, and it's like, dude, came in from Argentina. What are you gonna tell him? Like, yikes. And then there was another couple that came in from Canada, and they had signed up for waitlist tickets for Saturday, but were sent Sunday tickets, and they were like, sorry, can't help you. So I felt very fortunate to
Oh my
have a
gosh.
fairly easy fix, but it took me a half an hour to get in.
So you definitely didn't miss something corporate because you already said you were at their set. So were you disappointed with what you did miss at the beginning of the set of the show?
So what I missed was being able to get front and center, which for me is a big thing. I find that I have a very different show experience on the barricade than further back.
Hmm.
So I ended up very far to the right, which isn't a bad spot to be, but it wasn't what I had planned on and anticipated.
I've heard several people had trouble getting in. I felt very fortunate because I also I bought on StubHub, and I had no issues, but I had so much anxiety lining up on Sunday trying to get in. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get in. So the people I came in with, I was like, we got in separate lines. I was like, just go without me. If I don't get in, it's fine. Like, whatever. I'll deal with it. I'll figure it out. But because of what I'd heard about Saturday, but I had a legit ticket, but it was from StubHub. So I wasn't sure how that was going to work out. But I lucked out, and they were able to scan it, and no issues. So there was something. I did something so stupid right before I got scanned in. So you know how they make you go through a metal detector, and you have to like take everything out of your pocket, and I assume if you had a bag, you had to put it on the table, right? That's kind of what it appeared to be. So I had a hip pack on, and I even brought my daughter's unicorn clear hip pack because it was like, because I thought, okay, it could only have one pocket. It has to be clear, is kind of like either what I heard or what I thought. I don't know. I was just trying to be safe. But I also was cautioned, like, by reading too many horror stories on the Facebook group that, like, oh, people will try to steal your stuff, so don't keep your wallet and your bag loose or anything like that. So this sounds so dumb. I zip tied the bag to my belt loop tight as I'm waiting in line. I'm like, oh, I'll just take care of this now. Now nobody can steal it. So I get up to the metal detector. I know, so dumb. Get up to the metal detector, and I'm like, sir, I'm sorry, but I can't take off the bag. And he looks at me, and I'm like, I zip tied it so I wouldn't lose it. He just looked at me confused, and he like looked through, he like eyeballed it and gave it back to me and let me go. I couldn't believe it.
That's so funny.
Yeah, they were so nice about it. I thought I'd be like, I was like, this is the reason I won't get into the festival, because I have a zip tied unicorn hip pack on my belt loop. So it worked out.
That's so funny, though.
Yeah, I felt so dumb though.
It's a good story at this point,
Yeah,
but in the
yeah.
moment.
I was so panicky. I was like kicking myself. So I got in, and I was able to see actually several bands before something corporate. I was able to see Phoenix TX, the Ataris, Motion City Soundtrack, but we didn't get right up front. As it goes with concert crowds, as everybody knows, at a festival especially, like as the crowd kind of shifts and ebbs and flows, and people leave after a band, like people who were there to see Ataris, some of them left, and same with like Motion City Soundtrack, some of them would leave, and so all the people I was with, like we just kind of like didn't push, we just kind of walked forward a little bit, and we had a pretty good spot for something corporate. I would say we were up closer, much closer than I anticipated for a festival of that size. So I was glad to hear that you got up close too. Then,
Very far off to the right, yeah.
do you still feel like you had a good view though?
It's a decent view.
I'm curious, did the bass from the speakers that you were probably standing in front of, did that hurt? Like even with earplugs in?
So I brought earplugs,
Mm-hmm.
and to be honest, at that point, nothing hurt. Everything was just hot.
Yeah. You guys
It
had a
was
hotter day than we
so
did.
hot. I brought a water backpack thing with me,
Mm-hmm.
and at that point, it wasn't full yet because I raced to the front. But at that point, too, at the barricade, they were like throwing water bottles at people. So
Yeah.
I got that. And I poured one on this frog tog, which is like a towel thing that stays cool when it's wet.
Oh yeah. We have one of those.
So that was great. With this festival, too, the festival was so crowded. I've never been to a festival that was that packed. And I'm not a festival novice. I've worked for the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, usually like once you get a couple of people back, you can move.
Yeah.
But there was no way to move at this thing.
No.
And that stressed me out more than anything.
That was hard. So we watched something corporate, and then we saw Newfound Glory to the right, the stage to the right of us from the same position. That worked out okay because that was two of my top bands I wanted to see. And then Yellow Card right in front of us. And by that point, again, when Something Corporate finished, just like with the prior band, we were actually able to move up even further, even closer for Yellow Card, which I was amazed by. I've become more of a Yellow Card fan this year than I was 20 years ago or even 15 years ago. I've seen them 3 times now this year, and they put on such a good show that day. I think I was like 10 people back from the stage for Yellow Card, which just happened to work out really well. Let's go back to Something Corporate for a minute. So Something Corporate set was obviously a much shorter version of what we saw Friday night. Were you happy with what you saw at When We Were Young?
I'm a person, again, who will go to several dates on the same tour. I have no problem with singing the same songs twice or whatnot.
Uh-huh.
And I'm very spoiled by the length of sets that we're used to. So
Yeah.
7 songs, or 6.5 songs, because
Yeah.
we got the verse out of Constantine, was just not enough.
Right.
The songs were not disappointing at all. It was just not as much as I wanted.
That's where I was going with that. I agree with that. It's just, but I think it's because we saw 20 songs the night before. It was hard to only see 6 songs.
Yeah.
They did sound great, by the way. I agree with you there. The band was very tight. You can tell they've been practicing. They sounded great. The stage visuals looked great. It was a very exciting festival set. But yeah, it's a hard pill to swallow that you're like, oh my gosh, I love this band so much, and it's like, oh, only 6 songs. I just want it to last forever. Can we just not even have the next band and then Something Corporate can play another set? I mean, I know it's what a lot of us wanted, but there were a lot of great bands there that I got to see, didn't get to see, and what were the other artists that you saw at the festival that you were really excited about and enjoyed?
The Academy was kind of the big one.
Mm-hmm.
My group was super excited about William Beckett.
Yeah.
That was a really great one and a highlight. But I didn't get to see as many of the other bands that I would have wanted to, because it was so hard to move between stages.
For sure.
And because it was so hot, we ended up having to find somewhere to relax for a while, just to get out of the heat. And then the other thing was Michelle Branch and the Veronicas were 2 that I thought would be nice to see. But that was the same time as Something Corporate, and there was no way I was going to miss Something Corporate.
Yeah, Michelle Branch was honestly in my top 5 for the whole day, but the scheduling just didn't work out. So they were as Something Corporate ended, Michelle Branch was going on, but also Newfound Glory was going on, and I was already in the crowd. So our group made a split decision at that moment. We were like, we are packed so tightly into a crowd that I don't think we could get to Michelle Branch if we wanted to. And Newfound Glory's playing, so we'll just stay.
Yeah.
So completely understand. I remembered what I was going to say about Yellow Card earlier. So we stayed for Yellow Card. That was great. But when we were leaving Yellow Card, what you were saying earlier about it being packed, it was insane trying to get out of that crowd. So now at that moment, I saw what everyone else had to go through that left before me. To get out of the crowd, you had to wade your way through like going upstream in a river to get out of that crowd. I mean, we were kind of looking, we watched, there's videos of When We Were Young, obviously, out there, on their social media and stuff. And so they were flying drones above. And I've watched some of that footage, and I'm like, I cannot believe I was in that sea of people. It's kind of scary looking back now that I was like,
It was uncomfortable.
I was like tens of thousands of people deep in that crowd. I'm sure if I had stuck around at the main stages, I wouldn't have been able to get out at a certain point. So I'm glad we left the main stages when we did, but we left Yellow Card and we headed for the smaller stages on the other side for bands like Goldfinger and the Academy is. And I'm really glad we made that decision because it was so much more relaxing over on the other side. Did you find that too with the smaller stages?
Honestly, I didn't. It felt just as packed for me.
Okay.
But I'm glad that was your experience.
Yeah, at least early on. So at the time that Goldfinger played on the left stage and then the Academy is played on the right, the crowd did not feel real tightly packed unless you went right up to the stage. I was further back for those, by the way. And I enjoyed it that way. I was good with that. It was when Simple Plan came out for that that late night set on the smaller stage. It was crazy. I mean, I know I've heard it from a lot of people already, but I'll just echo that sentiment. I guess they really should have been on the main stage because it seemed like so many people there to see Simple Plan. And I got to watch them, and that was great. But I was really far back for that because it was like impossible to get up close. But we didn't end up back at the main stage till the end of the night for Blink because it was just so hard to get over there. So I missed bands that I really wanted to see: Sum 41, Good Charlotte, The Offspring. We did catch the last 3 songs of The Offspring. So those are kind of some of my favorites right there. But at the end of the day, and even during it, I was okay with it, the decision we made, because we got to see, like, I got to see Reliant K and, like I said, Simple Plan. The Academy I don't know that well, but they sounded great and they put on a fun show. So I got to see some bands I didn't expect to watch, like that, and Beach Bunny even, who had been recommended to me. I was good with what we saw. I was like, basically I got my money's worth out of it. With seeing even like the first 6 bands of the day that I saw, I was like, wow, I can't believe I didn't even think I would see that much, to be honest. So was there like a favorite moment of the day at When We Were Young for you?
Okay, this sounds really bad. Honestly, leaving was one of my favorite parts because it was that crowded. We ended up walking into Circus Circus and we got like Del Taco. And really, that was a highlight for me, just to be like, wow, I saw what I came here to see. I could go home now and be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I get a taco right now. So win-win.
Yeah. Green Day is one of my very favorite bands of all time. And in fact, I was so fortunate to see the secret or pop-up show or whatever Thursday night. I was so fortunate. I feel so lucky. So it's ironic that when it came time for Green Day to play at the festival, I left. But I was like, I can't do it anymore. I can't stand up. And I still have to walk 1.5 miles back to my hotel because I knew there were, Ubers would be impossible and that sort of thing. So
that was what we did.
yeah. So yeah,
we
did.
For Blinken.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We left after Blink, and I felt weird about that because I was like, oh my gosh, like Green Day is one of my top bands of all time, and I'm just going to skip them. But I justified it because I was like, well, I just saw them 2 nights ago, and I'm exhausted, and I've already watched 15 bands perform today in the sun. So yeah, it was a tough day on our bodies, that's for sure. I think everybody agrees to that. But I do think you had it harder on Saturday. I know how hot it was. I was walking around in Vegas that day, kind of more or less chilling, but like still and it was so hot. I do think it was more packed too. I think there were more people there on Saturday. I really do.
It was beyond packed. And honestly, something that I've thought about with this is who markets a festival to elder emos on black pavement in Las Vegas. And like the pavement had like these divots and stuff in it. Like I saw people go down.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know. I loved the music, and the festival itself was not my favorite thing.
I think I set my expectations low, to be honest. And so I went in with the mentality that I'm going to Vegas with my wife, meeting up with friends, and we're going to see the Something Corporate Sideshow. I'm very fortunate. The Green Day was like a huge bonus that I didn't expect until I got there. And then I was like, and maybe I'll be able to go to the festival. Now, I will admit, by the time the sideshow was over and we got into Saturday, I was like, okay, I feel like I have to go to this festival. Like, we're here and this is happening. So I kind of have to go. But I was trying to keep a cool head about it. And I was like, because it was sold out and you had to buy tickets, off of StubHub or off of, or trust somebody to buy a ticket off of. And I was like, I don't know. And prices were kind of fluctuating. So I was like, And so I did end up buying one, and I'm glad I did. It all worked out. But I think I would have been okay if I didn't go. So I guess what I'm saying is my expectations were probably lower than maybe the average festival goer because that wasn't the reason I was in town. And I tried to keep it that way because I don't know. I heard a lot of negative things about last year's festival, but I had an overall positive experience. So for what that's worth.
I feel similarly. If I had left after the sideshow, I would have been happy, but I was already there.
I know it did come down to that for me too.
And get something good out of it. And
yeah. And my wife had zero interest for many of the reasons that you stated, the things that you stated about the festival. My wife wanted nothing to do with that festival. She was like, I'm not going to stand with 70,000 people in the hot sun, packed in where you can't even get out of the crowd. And I was like, I get it. More my thing than hers. But
I was genuinely shocked at how hard it was to get out of the crowd. Like, yeah. I haven't had that experience with other festivals.
Well, like I said, when we left the stage after Yellow Card, we didn't go back into a deep crowd like that. I think that was enough for me to just be like, you know what? I'm just going to listen to music from back here. And it worked out. All right, so You've now seen 51 something, or Andrew 51 times, because you saw him twice last weekend. What's next? Are you going to see him again this year?
Yes, so I'm going to be at the benefit. I'll also be at VIP night the night before. I also bought a ticket to the show the night after because I'm already here, right? Might as well go.
He's
And
playing
then,
another show in Austin?
no, I think it's in Houston or
Oh, wow.
Dallas. Houston or Dallas. I don't know. I'm renting a car. I'm going there
Oh, my
because
gosh.
I'm already there. Why not?
You're in the state of Texas. You know the state of Texas is not small, right?
Yeah. So I went for night rides. We did it at Austin, Dallas, Houston, 3 days in a row.
Hmm.
So I've driven it before. It's not that bad.
Right.
I'm already there.
Yeah. You're going to have
And
a
then
full weekend.
yes. And then he plays in Madison, Wisconsin on December 6th. And then he plays in Chicago on the 8th. And I will be at those as well.
Wow. So how many will that make by the end of this year then?
Currently, by the end of the year, I will have hit 56 shows.
Dang. See, I kind of hit a bucket list item that I guess it wasn't a bucket list item because I hit a goal this year that I didn't think I even had. But I think by the end of the year, I'll have seen Andrew in 5 different states. It just worked out that way.
There you go.
I think it was, let's see, 22, 21. That was 22 and 23 for me over the weekend.
Impressive. Those are good numbers.
Yeah, and I am glad to say that 4 of them have been something corporate, and just a couple have been Jack's Mannequin. But I've seen the Wilderness a lot in these last few years, and as long as the guy keeps touring, I'm gonna be going. So you're hitting some shows in December then, and then who knows what next year holds. So we're hearing there's some big news. They put up a QR code at the Sideshow. Jack's Mannequin, something corporate, Andrew McMahon in the Wilderness, 2024, keep it open. And I'm like, I guess I'm keeping the whole year open. Sounds like we might have some information on that soon. Who knows? So,
Yeah, looking forward to hearing more about that.
yeah,
I will do whatever it takes to be
yeah,
there.
same. Fortunately, for me, my wife agrees. We're like, yeah, that's going to be like our adult trip next year. We always do like a family trip and adult trip, so that'll be our thing next year. Vegas was this year. That'll be next year, whatever that is. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Jenna. I really appreciate hearing about your experience and 50th show, 51st show. And thanks for playing trivia. So our next episode, we're going to be playing Andrew McMahon themed trivia.
I am so excited for Andrew McMahon trivia. I've talked about it with people that I know, and truthfully, they're like, if you lose, I'm never talking to you again because of how much I talk about Andrew McMahon. So
That's a lot of pressure.
the bar is really high. I'm very anxious, and I'm also so ready for it.
The other 4 people may feel similarly, so there's some pretty hardcore fans coming to this thing, but we'll see. I'm not playing, obviously, but I'll just be there to introduce everybody, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to what the questions are. I'll kind of be playing in my head and being like, I think you've got it over me. Like, it sounds like you've prepared for years for this, so
I'm hoping for the best.
yeah.
And I know everyone who's doing this obviously has to be super into it. So I know I have my work cut out for me.
It'll be fun either way. So I appreciate you donating to Dear Jack on for our team and signing up for trivia. I think we'll have a good time. So, but again, thank you so much. It's been great. Any final thoughts?
No, thank you so much for having me. This was super fun, and I really loved like reliving the whole thing. So thanks, Steve.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.